Hi again. It's been a while since last time I moved house and moved my workshop table to a new place. Hopefully it will be here in many years. I'm starting a new project with a micro greenhouse making intelligent food. So I've been a little busy and today painting green. I'm sorry for that, but some of you will see immediately it's not authentic. But I'm also making a little writing things, of course. So I made the shoes for Yuris, and I'll show you an easy video, fast made, of how I have done this. Christopher Lawson, I think his name is, asked me for this. So I will just make a quick one. Yesterday I made, or maybe 2 days ago, I made this from MacGyver tape, or what's it called? Gaffer tape. I wrapped the whole foot. First I put on a sock on him. And then I make him stand very straight, like a soldier. So the angle in his foot here is right. And then I wrap with the complete roll of gaffer tape. Quite much. So it's stiff. So it's reliable, the shape. And I do it a little higher than this. And then I always draw in the center line when you still have it on, because that line is very important for how your conception of the shoes is. If this is wrong, you will feel that it's not a nice shoe. So this is maybe the most important line on shoes. And then there's a lot of Viking shoes. I'm sure you know many of them. This one is maybe a mixture. I haven't tried to make an exact one. But this one, what is smart by doing this with the plastic thing is that you can draw in. You can draw in the shoe you want. Here I could draw in a low shoe or a higher shoe. I can place the buttons and the straps over where I want them, because here I've drawn in those two. So it's easy to make a shape that fits you perfectly. I make a line with the sole up. So here I have the sole, and here I have the shape of the shoe, the upper leather. And now this flap is in that side, which is of course not shown. So when I transfer this to paper, you see now it is here as it is here. So I take this piece out and add it to the side where it's actually going to be. Here. So this is the final pattern. Be careful when you make the pattern to really spread this one out so you get everything with it. It's 3-dimensional and paper is 2. So it's a little work with that. But some time, then you will get a shoe that fits you perfectly. The only thing I change when I make the shoes, pattern, is the length of the sole. And there's no seam allowance. It's sort of going in the elasticity of the leather. I never add extra thing for sewing. But I add extra in the length here. I add 2 centimeters, 2.5 if you're a big foot. Because I always make the sole, like the Vikings did, in skin with a rawhide. Where is it? Once I had some skin. Where is it? Ah, you see. I'm sure you cannot see it here, but this is hard. And it is, you know, when you're tanning skin, if this is the cut through a skin, then the tanning, the acid from the bark, for instance, are going in like this. And the Vikings stopped it, so it has a raw piece in the middle that are not tanned. And that gets hard as wood. That's why this is hard. And that is also, the effect of that is also that it shrinks. I do this wet, or else I cannot cut or sew or make holes in it. And when it dries up, it shrinks 2 centimeters in the length. So that's why I always add 2 centimeters, at least an inch in the length here. That's the only thing I make different in the pattern. I'll show you later. So this is how it looks when I cut it out. And this is also often how it's found, for instance, in Haithabu, and maybe even half. Should be quite good archaeologist back then to understand that this is a shoe. But it is because the sole is never attached to it, unless there's very few that found. In York there's found, and in Oseberg ship there's found with the sole on also, but it's seldom. Most of the shoes we know from the Vikings is from Haithabu. And they were disposed in the harbor as garbage. So there were soles there and upper leather there and pieces of skin. We don't understand what is other places. And often the sole is sewn together with the shoe with linen, and that disappears. So the sole also does that. So first thing to do is to sew the middle seam. And I had a very, very nice eel from Lucas in Viking. I bought it from him maybe 10 years ago, and I never sharpened it. It's just amazing. He's brilliant. And as you can see here, the holes are not round. They look like this, which make it much easier to make a beautiful seam that lies like this and not like this. Always when I make this shoemaker seam, I don't know if that's the English word, but it's this seam where you are sewing with 2 needles on the same thread. So I put one in. And when I'm about this length in, 5 centimeters from the top, I go through it. You see that? So, and then I pull this back up, so it's locked. So I'm not taking it off all the time. It's much faster to sew that. And then I go to the other end and do the same. So I have 2 needles on 1 thread. See? Then it's locked in place. It cannot go off. So this is, here I use the whole thread. It's quite much. This is for the sole. When I sew the upper leather, I do split it. It is like, this is synthetic, but it's like made, it looks quite much like sinions, or what it is, from the back, from the spine on an animal, for instance, reindeer or calf. And it is lasting forever. You could also sew together with linen, but it will rotten quite fast, and then you have to make a new seam. I'm too lazy for that. You see here I can split it up in different, so I take about 2/3 and sew that. Well, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's just stupid. You see here. Maybe. Like that. So I will split it up and then I will sew with this that are a little thinner on the top leather of the shoes. And when I make the holes, I always use an L that are flat. It has this hole or this hole, but mine are like this. And then when this is the sewing direction, I always put it 45 degrees on. Not like this, not following it, and not 90 degrees, but 45. So you see the stitch are lying. And the reason why I do it is this. This is the skin. And this is the sewing direction. So the holes are like this. And when you sew, I pull the sewing thread so it's lying like this. This is the sewing thread. This is X-rated, of course. Which means that in the end, when the sew is finished, when the seam are finished, it will lie like this. Maybe you can see it here. They are lying after each other. If I had used round holes, some thread could lie like this, some could lie like this, some could lie like this, and so on. So you see that will be a messy seam that your eye won't like. So it's all about just about putting the L in that direction. If this is the sewing rhythm, you put 45 degrees here. So when you sew, when you make this special shoes, because this is going in there, of course this is the one that should be on the top. If I did it wrong that way, I would get trouble there. So this is what it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be. So like that. Make sure I'm approximately in the middle. And the first stitch I always make 2 times round. I don't know if it's necessary, but it's just what I do. So now, here you see the holes are pointing that way. So when I come to here, I pull it down in that end. I think that's the easiest way to do it. You simply help the thread to go on the right place. And the same here. You see here the holes are like this, so I pull it there. So this the thread will always go the shortest distance which is from the lower corner there to the top corner there, was split. So see, I pull like that every time. And under I pull the opposite way. So under I pull this way, up I pull this way. And now, in the end, I never use knots when I'm making shoes. You can see now it's lying very nice. Instead of using a knot or something on the back side, I now sew 3 stitches backwards. And to make it back to it completely, you pull the other way. So I pull it out now while it shall start to go back, to go that direction. The same in a way, but upside. So now pull that way here. So that was 3, but I always end both of them on the back side. And then I simply cut them here. That's it. So now you can see, maybe you can see more clearly here, but it's like that. So now I shall sew this around the edge. This thing. It's mainly decoration. If it was thinner skin, it would have also a function of taking care of the skin, maybe. It's found many places, especially in Haithabu. You can see the top of the skin. They're always the thread are gone. There's a few examples where it's not, and then I think it is made from tensons like this, but not synthetic. But often it's made by linen and wool, and then it's gone. And you see a hole, and then on the top you see this small things and a hole. That is because of that technique. So that is next little thing to do. And then the soles. I don't know if you can see it here. Maybe you can. But in here, maybe it's possible to see. There's a little white line in the middle of the skin. And that is the rawhide. The tanning is made by bark, tannin from bark. It goes in the skin like this over weeks or months. And then you can stop it till you have a raw piece inside. And that makes it hard like wood. It will be softer when you walk on it, but it's It is, if you step on a stone, a little stone, it will not hurt your feet. That is also why this skin is used for sheets for knives and even swords. If you don't have this wooden thing inside the sword, the sheet for the sword, you have to use this skin. If you have a knife in your belt, you are running, falling, the knife will not go through the skin. It protects you. It's clever thinking. And a funny story about that. Archaeology and experimental archaeology. In Haithabu, the archaeologists often found two soles on top of each other, exactly matching. And they could not understand because they could not find any seams where it was sewn together or any kind of glues. But it was not two soles from the beginning. It was this with the raw hide in the middle. And of course, the raw hide that are not preserved will rotten. So it looks like it's two layers, but it's the upper and the bottom layer of skin. So crafters are needed in archaeology. And archaeologists are needed for us crafters. But now, I think I told you before, but this is the shape of Yuri's foot, and I made the sole 2.5 centimeters longer because this will shrink. I make it wet when I'm sewing it, else it's impossible to make holes. And so, and then it will shrink 2 centimeters. So at least, so I make the pattern 2 centimeters long. And of course, never ever use a thing like this on skin. You will regret. It will come places where you don't want it. This is a bone. And I can, if I do something wrong, I can delete it. Almost. I won't harm the skin, you see? So this is clever. There's no seam allowance when I make the shoe. When you make the patterns, you cut it out, and that is the shape. The elasticity in the skin will make the seam allowance. So remember to turn it the other way around. I think this leather is called half-tanned skin in English. We call it rawhide, sort of. It's rawhide in the middle, not preserved. But I've seen it in English leather shop as half-tanned skin. This triangle, by the way, in the end of the shoes protect the upper leather because this is harder leather than the upper leather. And this is very classic for a Viking shoe, that thing. It disappears in the beginning of the Middle Age, where you get rounded soles and then you have a piece of leather in between. I call it a bess, I don't know what you would call it. There's both. In the Oseberg ship, this rounded, she was a modern woman. So, this is impossible for my old hand to cut out now, so I just cut what I need now, and then I will put it in water. I soak this now for at least 15 minutes in cold water. I sew this seam around with a strong woolen thread, 2-ply, and I put beeswax on it to make it stronger. And because this leather is quite thick, I will soak it a little to make this shape on the surface, on the edge as the finding shows. Just a minute. See? It's not very clever to do really, because there will be an edge here, but it will even out when the shoes are used.